News Central now at this hour begins with health matters in West Africa, where Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has approved the immediate upgrade of 16 health institutions across all 6 geopolitical zones. The president directed that the infrastructure and equipment of the institutions should be immediately upgraded. The institutions include the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Surulere, and the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria. Among them are 6 teaching hospitals marked for the establishment of oncology and nuclear medicine centers per facility, all to be delivered within 12 to 18 months. The 4 other teaching hospitals are the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, Edo State, University of Nigeria, Nsukka Teaching Hospital, Enugu State, Federal Teaching Hospital, Katsina, University of Jos Teaching Hospital, Plateau State. Health stakeholders in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, have tasked citizens to be more vigilant on the health status of their children and ensure that early detection of cases of child cancer. Now, they say this will ensure the quick and compulsory treatment of children diagnosed, which can give them a high chance of survival. Some of them look to the streets of Abuja as part of efforts to mark the World Child Cancer Day and raise awareness on the need for early detection of child cancer in children. Amadin Uyi has the report.
Cancer has become more popular in recent years, with over 400,000 children between the ages of 0 to 19 diagnosed annually. The most common types of child cancers include leukemia, brain cancer, lymphoma, and solid tumors.
Cancer in children is widespread across the nations, across the world, and that is why we have World Cancer Day celebration, because it's a disease that cuts across the globe.
As the world marks the World Child Cancer Day, the Akanimo Cancer Foundation took to the streets of Abuja to raise awareness about child cancer.
Today, we are simply creating awareness about childhood cancer to tell the world that childhood cancer is a thing, it's real. Children can get cancer too.
They also expressed concern about misinformation on child cancer being peddled around.
There's a lot of misinformation about cancer. People think it's village people, it's juju, it's babalawo, it's everything. And it's only when it gets to the terminal stage that they finally pull themselves to the clinic.
We have medical reasons for causes of cancer. Cancer does not have anything to do with witches and witchcrafts, but you know that we believe that every physical thing has a spiritual origin.
For many Nigerians, the idea of a child diagnosed with cancer is unimaginable. This is because in this part of the world, it is usually attributed to superstitious beliefs or the handiwork of witches and wizards. However, available technology now makes detection of cancer in children possible. There are some here who believe that early detection is key because it can save the life of that child that has just recently been diagnosed with cancer.
The very first benefit of early detection is that the cancer can be contained within the organ where it started. So the thing about cancer is this: it starts from one place, and then what kills is that it spreads to other organs, especially vital organs of our body.
They urge parents to be more vigilant over their children so as to ensure that they detect any cases of child cancer.
All you need to do is pay attention, please, to those simple complaints of your children. Do not ignore them.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Staying with health, International Childhood Cancer Day is a global collaborative campaign held every February 15 to raise awareness about childhood cancer and its challenges. Now, this comes as veteran Nigerian broadcaster Bimbo Oloyede unveils plans to raise critical funds for cancer research and treatment in public hospitals.
Nigeria has one of the highest cancer mortality rates in the world. It has become a major public health crisis in Nigeria, with over 17,000 deaths and 102,000 new cases annually. Breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in Nigeria. Liver cancer comes as second, while prostate cancer is the third, with late diagnosis and limited access to treatment. significantly impacting survival rates. Now, this highlights the urgent need for increased awareness campaigns, research, and healthcare resources to combat this growing challenge.
In Africa, the burden of mortality rate due to the terminal disease called cancer has risen significantly. According to articles published on Frontiers, cancer is now the fifth leading causes of death in Africa. Efforts and campaigns will aid in underscoring the urgent need to address the disparity in cancer care access and outcomes for patients served by public healthcare systems.
This campaign seeks to meet a need, an existing need in public hospitals. If we raise this, let me not say if, when we raise this money, we're going to be able to put some of it into cancer research and some of it into providing some equipment and accessories that will be accessible to all cancer patients when they go for treatment in public hospitals. I think investment in research is going to make a difference. You know, I know that it's a global problem, but it's also a local problem. So let's find local solutions to our local problem.
In Nigeria, cancer leads to over 72,000 deaths per annum. This number will increase in the coming years, given that there are 102,000 new cases of cancer every year, raising Nigeria's cancer burden significantly. With more cases and limited resources for early diagnosis, the healthcare system is now under the weight of this growing threat.
Cancer treatment is extremely expensive because almost everything is brought from outside. But I think that we need more eyes on the local health industry and probably a bit more collaboration between the local, what we like to call herbalists, but I would say local medicine and local and natural medicine and the imported medicine.
Anything that we observe that is different or strange or odd about our bodies, we should make inquiries.
The fight against cancer in Nigeria is multifaceted. While challenges persist, there could be encouraging signs of progress by addressing resource limitations, raising awareness, and fostering collaboration.
We now head to politics, where one of the top aspirants in the upcoming All Progressives Congress governorship primary election in Edo State, Osagie Izeyamu, has quit the race. Now, in a letter of withdrawal sent on Friday to the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Ganduje, and copied the acting state chairman of the party, Jared Tenebe, to notify the party of his decision, Izeyamu said the decision was a painful one. He had been one of the top contenders before he quit the race, to the surprise of many. Now, it would have been his fourth attempt at becoming the governor of the state, having served as secretary to the state government under Governor Lucky Benedion. The Nigeria Labour Congress has declared a two-day nationwide protest over the hardship being experienced by Nigerians, as well as the deteriorating security situation in the country. NLC President Joe Ajaero disclosed this during a press briefing in Abuja on Friday after an emergency meeting of the National Executive Council of the Union. He said the protest will begin a week after the expiration of the 14-day ultimatum it issued to the federal government, which will expire on February 23. Now, the planned days for the nationwide protest is February 27th and 28th. Away from that, Nigerians may be in for tougher times in the coming days as the country's inflation rate continues to rise. It now stands at 29.90%, up from 28.92% in the previous month. Meanwhile, in the face of this, the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Abubakar, has lamented the economic hardship in the country, saying Nigerians are frustrated and hungry. Now, speaking at the 6th Executive Committee meeting of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council, which was held in Kaduna State, he said insecurity and poverty were the major issues causing trouble in the northern part of the country. The Sultan said traditional rulers owed it to a duty to Nigerians who believed in the traditional institution to bring solutions to the various problems facing the country. Earlier, Elvis Akbobi, Executive Director Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, spoke to us on this.
We didn't elect anybody to come and give us excuses. We elected people to come and solve the problems of Nigeria. So it's quite unfortunate we are facing this. Mostly my generation is facing this, and most of these policies, they are being made, these fake policies that are being made and have gotten us here are from people who enjoyed their youthful days, people who after they left school, they got good job, people who didn't even need to have the right surname to have a better life. They are not making fake policies, policies that are making Nigerians escape Nigeria, policies that are making Nigerians give up on Nigeria. I wonder if we continue in this trajectory in the next 1 year. I'm afraid to say it's my boomerang, because the average Nigerian today can barely feed. For a country that is blessed with rich human and natural resources, but failed leadership, we should expect worse if we continue like this.
Now, the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners have threatened to embark on a nationwide strike over what they described as high operational costs engineered by rising inflation rates in the country. NATO, the umbrella body of all commercial transport owners and operators in Nigeria that are engaged in the business of moving goods, passengers and petroleum products from one place to another throughout the country and in the West African region, stated this. Now, President of the association, Yusuf Othman, said his members could no longer meet up with the delivery of petroleum products as operational cost currently outweighs earnings. Now, he explained that what marketers currently pay NATO members to load and deliver one truck of 40,000 liters of petroleum products is 1,320 naira per trip, while actual expenses sit at 1,285,000 per trip. To discuss this, we are joined by Olushola Bello, publisher Business Standards. Hello, good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining me on the news.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening. All right, so now let's talk about the factors that contribute to the high operational costs, especially those faced by the members of NATO. How do these costs relate to the rising inflation rates in the country?
It's unfortunate that the situation has degenerated to what it has degenerated to. But there are a number of issues that have probably led to that issue, to that incident. First, bad roads. Bad roads across the country is a major contributor, and it slows down the operations of the tanker drivers. Their trucks break down at almost very frequently, and they also require a lot of money to fix those things. Then aside from that, aside from the road incident, the bad roads also, well, the distance in which they cover, is also a contributing factor, because a distance that should have, a distance that should have been covered by within 2 or 3 days, or even 1 day, it ended up being covered with, about 3 days, because of the same factor, bad roads. Now, the government is now, in some cases, look at what they are saying in Lagos State. Lagos State is thinking of e-call now. And that e-call, we are made to understand they will have to pay 15,000 for that operation. We don't know whether the 15,000 is going to be yearly payment or is going to be monthly payment. And having this will also take the cost. It's not only will not only reflect in the cost of the product. Alone. It will also escalate the cost of other goods and services that have been rendered in the country, because you need petrol to do a lot of things. You need diesel to do a lot of things. You need diesel to move the product, and if There are no diseases to move the products, I mean food items, from one place to the other.
Okay, Olushola, now let's talk about the discrepancy, between what the marketers currently pay for loading and also delivering one truck of petroleum products and the actual expenses incurred per trip. Because, from what we know, they say they're paid just a little over 1,000 naira. Meanwhile, it actually costs a little over 1 million naira. What are the key components of these operational expenses?
Now, you know that it is not the truck drivers that pay for the products. They are just hired to carry the products.
Okay.
But when they are also hired to carry the products. But that notwithstanding, they are supposed to also be given. They are entitled to certain fees, which they call, I think, transport fees per unit cost of a liter of petrol. And if this unit cost has not increased or it has not been upgraded somehow, of course, it is going to affect the operational cost. Because they also have their motorboys, they have other expenses that they have to take care of. They have to take care of mechanical faults, and the prices are escalating every now and then. Some of these things are bought in dollars, and if you have to fix a truck that maybe is whether the engine or the tire, I'm sure one tire now will be going for about 300,000 or 400,000 just per one tire, and some of these trucks use about 14 or 15 tires. So you can imagine if we are going to pay 500,000 in about 16 or 15 places. So you know how much that will cost you. So that is a major crisis.
Okay, now still speaking on this, just can you briefly tell me how NATO intends to address the financial imbalance that's actually affecting the cost of delivering and also receiving these products?
There's no way they can address it themselves, except if the government comes to their aid. In the first instance, the roads must be fixed so that at least they can lessen the burden of transportation. Secondly, some of these charges that some of these governments fixed, placed on them at various states must be removed. If those charges are not removed, they will also have to add it to their own transportation cost. So which maybe a marketer will pay. And if the marketer pays that, of course, we don't expect the marketer to recoup his money. It is the consumers, the buyers or the buyers of this that will pay that money. For instance, in a place not too far away from, I want to buy fuel this morning, and ordinarily in Lagos, the fuel price should not be more than 599 naira. But we ended up buying it at 625 naira. So, but nobody has told us what was the reason behind that unit cost.
Okay.
So those are the things you experience. Those are the things they also go through. They will now pass the burden on customers, and passing the burden on customers will also make the customers also to begin to look at government as if government does not know what they are doing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Olushola Bello, publisher, Business Standards, for joining me on the news and also sharing your thoughts on this.
You're welcome.
Survivors of conflicts, victims and de-radicalized women in Borno State, northeast Nigeria, are demanding economic empowerment and an end to discriminatory practices. Now, the peace-building initiative that brought together all the actors and mediators was organized by the Alamein Foundation for Peace and Development in Maiduguri. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Ali Abdu Bolori was once a successful businessman in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. The 64-year-old lost one of his wives and became crippled at the peak of the insurgency. Ali narrated his ordeal and experiences of starting life afresh.
Ba laifi mun yafe musu, mu da kanmu mun yi ma Ubangiji laifi, in ba a yafiya ba zai yafe muna ba. Ki duk wannan fitintunin samarin nan in suna da aiki ba zai taso ba kwata-kwata. Rashin aikin nan shine masifa.
While many stories of such are left untold, survivors, victims and some de-radicalized women shared their stories, highlighting the challenges they have endured and the need for support to rebuild their lives.
Since 2011, my son was arrested. I want to see my son. We want justice.
They emphasized the importance of inclusive and sustainable economic empowerment programs that provide opportunities for financial independence.
It's a plus to Borno State that there is a documented requirement by these groups of vulnerable women and girls on their specific needs to every stakeholder, so that collectively, what are we doing? We are all doing to complement, trying and then struggling to complement what the government is doing.
Among the demands were requests for skills training, access to microfinance programs, and mentorship initiatives to help them establish their own businesses and secure a better future for themselves and their families.
To ensure that this does not happen again, and there is a critical emphasis, please ensure that justice is done to everybody irrespective of differences.
Borno State government revealed that over 6,900 of the de-radicalized insurgents have been successfully reintegrated into the society.
All we need to do is to strengthen the collaboration and be accessible to every organization, so that, as His Excellency has always said, this issue of peace and security is not a one-man or only a government show.
The peace-building journey might be rough and tough, but the collective effort and support is said to spring better and egalitarian society. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thank you, Umaru, for that report. Now, heat wave is a period of abnormally hot weather like the one currently being experienced across Nigeria. Medical experts say continuous exposure to such heat condition could result in heat cramps, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and even death. News Central's correspondent Bettina Nweli took to the streets to find out how citizens are coping with the heat wave. Her report.
The past couple of months has been a tough one for Nigerians, as the country has been experiencing extreme temperatures, especially in Lagos and Abuja. The extremely hot weather has made life very uncomfortable for citizens.
Well, sincerely, I must confess, it's not been easy. It's not been easy, sincerely. I don't sleep in the night just because of this heat. But what I do is I hydrate. I try as much as possible to drink a lot of water, just so I'll be able to cope with the heat.
This heat is too much. It's too much. This one, no food, nothing, but the heat don't come to die. Manage, this one not be managed. This one have to suffer, to the air fire and IP. May God, I beg you, make it help us.
It's climate change, I guess. But there's nothing we can do about it. I think it's just to get coping mechanisms to be able to deal with it at this time. Like stay hydrated as much as you can, and also if you don't need to be out there, you can stay indoors as much as you can.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has issued a warning to the public about the excessive heat in Nigeria. NIMET says temperatures have reached dangerous levels, with the north hitting 41 degrees Celsius and the south peaking 39 degrees Celsius. The agency therefore advises people to stay hydrated, seek shade from the heat, use fans and wear light breathable clothing to reduce exposure to high temperatures. It further cautions against strenuous physical activity during peak heat hours and recommends staying indoors between 12 noon and 4 p.m.
This is climate change that we're all seeing now, the heat, the dust, and all that. All we can tell people is that, first of all, wear a mask if you need to wear a mask. It's not mandatory, but it actually protects you, especially when you go to dusty areas, and we haven't seen rain for a while. Two, you must keep hydrated. You must keep hydrated. Drink plenty of fluids, plenty of water, and all that. Secondly, cover your food. So when we leave foods around, fruits, you make sure you wash very, very well before you eat. You know, a lot of people buy things at the roadside. This dust settles. I don't know if you've dusted your table, and within an hour it's full of dust. Imagine that dust on your fruits.
Plants ordinarily act as a buffer to heat conditions through the provision of shade and stabilizing temperature by producing water that cools the surrounding air through evapotranspiration. However, in our cities, with concrete-walled buildings and tarred roads and vehicles that radiate heat, the risk of heat waves only increases. This therefore makes it imperative on the government and policymakers to intensify efforts on greening the cities. For individuals, planting trees around the environment will go a long way in this regard. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Unwili.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, ministers from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger met in the Burkinabe capital on Thursday to discuss creating a confederation. The three military regimes formed a defense and economic pact, the Alliance of Sahel States, in September. Burkina's defense minister, General Kassoum Koulibaly, said the talks in Ouagadougou were an opportunity to pursue the implementation of instruments, mechanisms, and procedures and the legal architecture for the confederation. Foreign ministers of the three nations backed the creation of a confederation as part of a long-term goal of uniting the West African neighbors within a confederation at a meeting in December in the Malian capital, Bamako.
Entre autres, de réviser la charte de l'AES et d'élaborer, suite à la sage et historique décision de nos États, de nos chefs d'État, un traité portant création de la Confédération favorisera sans nul doute la mise en place d'une architecture institutionnelle.
Notre décision de retrait est irréversible et il est plus que nécessaire pour la CEDEAO de comprendre que ni les leçons données, ni le dictat, ni les menaces violées, ni les intimidations, ni les diversions, ni les tentatives de déstabilisation.
All right, to discuss this, we're joined by Kopep Dabugat, an African Affairs analyst. Hello, Kopep. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me, Dashen.
It's a pleasure. All right, so Kopep, what specific mechanisms are under consideration by the ministers of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to be implemented as part of the legal architecture for the proposed confederation?
Well, first of all, we must understand that this was I would say, a circumstantial development that these three countries had to go into in response to the threat of ECOWAS to invade Niger following the coup in that country earlier during the middle of last year, in July specifically. So you would understand why, for now, there is no clarity as to what the specific architecture or institutions to be created by this for this purpose. Yes. So I think, well, first of all, they have a common intention to perhaps repel, any external aggression and stop any internal, acts of violence. So that is one. Secondly, they have even gone further to decide on putting in place a confederacy as a precursor to their long-term goal of, eventually having a complete union among themselves. It started as a military alliance, but now they are beginning to incorporate other aspects, which shows, the level to which it was a hurried arrangement. So for now, they have not really defined any specific institution. Yes, they have President Ibrahim Traore as their leader, but and then, of course, the defense ministers have been meeting now the foreign affairs ministers are meeting. So they have expressed their, their desire to exit ECOWAS. They've communicated that they have exited, even though they have not followed the right process. So now it will take them serious discussions to sit down and decide what they need to do. But they are trying to set up another institution in West Africa that eventually would have to, of course, if it would deal with the African Union, it would definitely have to eventually.
All right, Kopep, well, you did say that the major reason to actually form a confederation is to repel make the security architecture stronger. But in the context of the Defense and Economic Pact formed by the Alliance of Sahel States in September, how does the creation of a confederation align with the objectives of the pact? And what might be the potential implications for regional security and economic cooperation in this?
Well, first of all, I think this pact that they've made will now officially take them out of ECOWAS. But as I was saying earlier, they would definitely have to develop a relationship with ECOWAS because the African Union has designated 5 regional economic communities. ECOWAS is one, the Maghreb Union, the Central Africa States Community, the East Africa Community, and the Southern Africa.
So, but how do you think that would actually play out, after leaving ECOWAS and then, coming to form a relationship with ECOWAS as well?
Yes, of course, as it is for the meantime, before the rudiments of such a relationship are agreed to, there is a long way to go. And within that space of a long time, a lot will happen. One, of course, is the fact that the coordinated efforts across the region of ECOWAS to fight the insurgency, the Islamist insurgencies in this country, would definitely suffer a very big blow. And that will create a lot of difficulties for these countries, not just for these countries, but also spillovers for the other countries that are remaining within ECOWAS. So it is a potentially dangerous situation for both these countries and ECOWAS. But economically, on the other hand, I think for the rest of the countries remaining in ECOWAS, on the short to medium term, and even on the not very long term, I do not see any real economic effect of this exit. However, the economic effect may be heavier on these 3 countries. Why? Because this is like 1/5 of the population of ECOWAS, even though they have over 50% of the land area of ECOWAS, but it's like 1/5 of the population, and that is the population that is the poorest and having the lowest purchasing power.
I apologize for cutting you short, but time is not on our side. Thank you so much for joining me and speaking on this topic.
Okay, thank you very much and have a nice evening.
You too. All right, now we move to the Rainbow Nation, where authorities say 7,710 people were murdered in South Africa between 1st October and 31st December 2023. This represents an increase of 155 murdered people for the same period during the previous year. Now, Police Minister Becky Cele made this known on Friday when he released the third quarter crime statistics, which covered last year's festive season period. Cele says 4,882 suspects were arrested for murder and attempted murder for the period in review.
As we unpack the third quarter crime statistics for the past 2 consecutive terms, we had noted a reduction in the number of murders reported. During this period, but a total of 7,000 people were murdered. It is disturbing and concerning that the number of people murdered during this period increased. This is 3 months beyond the Operation Shadow.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Nigeria Labour Congress declares 2-day protest over rising cost of living. We also told you that over 7,000 murders occurred in fourth quarter of 2023 in South Africa. We also heard that world leaders mourn passing of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.